Wouldn't it be cool if all of our issues in Valorant could just be solved by making minor changes to our gameplay? If all of those guides that we watched on how to get more kills actually helped us get more kills? Well, how I got the video for you. My name is The King Live, and my full-time job for the last 2 years has been centered around teaching players how to play Valorant. But last act, something funny actually happened to me. I got stuck in fucking Diamond. I didn't know what it was. For some reason, these players just felt like they were a different breed. But after putting in a little bit of time and thought into how I was playing, everything just became so obvious. After making these 3 fundamental changes to my gameplay, I quickly shot back up to Immortal 2 within a week. And I'm going to share these changes I made with you here today. Before we get into it though, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to a couple of SkillCapped.com subscribers who've reported some crazy rating improvements in Valorant. These players are making the same climb that I did, and it's really impressive to see such great rating increases. So many of you really do have what it takes to reach the higher ranks. Sometimes all it takes is a little bit of guidance. I don't want to keep you waiting though. Let's get into the very first change that I made that helped me hit Immortal this last week. This change was I needed to stop swinging angles too wide. Now, don't get me wrong, everybody knows that it's important to isolate gunfights, but the funny thing is, I started to realize I don't actually do this all the time. There were so many times when a flash would be thrown or I'd be in a clutch, and for some reason I would just wide swing out into the open. The success rate on these wide swings is so low. I'd pretty much always either get one and get traded out, or I would just die straight up doing this. I needed to fundamentally change the way that I approached the game. I couldn't just tell myself not to wide swing anymore. I had to actually practice this. So many people when they're watching guides, myself included, will realize they have a problem but not take any active measures to fix it. This is why I started queuing into deathmatch lobbies, and I would focus on the position that I was currently in. So I spawned an A link on Haven. I'd walk over towards B site and I would start clearing each individual angle. I'd think to myself, alright, we're retaking B site, what angles would I clear? This stopped me from just running around like I did in deathmatch before. Now I'm methodically clearing angles and I'm not getting caught off guard. And because of this, my peaks got better and my confidence got better. My peaks have gotten better since, and I've started to clutch more rounds because I'm not just mindlessly running into enemies. I can't express enough how different playing deathmatch like this felt for me though. This didn't feel like something I could half-ass. The entire time throughout the deathmatch felt like I was actually focusing on the game and trying to improve. Quite frankly, it was kind of exhausting at first. I think one of the reasons it felt kind of exhausting is that although this helped me improve at the game, it didn't help me win deathmatches more. The focus wasn't on winning the deathmatch. Sure, I won a few of them in the process, but my focus was on clearing angles. I just wanted to make sure that I peeked every angle as best as I could, and if there was a target there, cool, I killed them, and if there wasn't, I moved on to the next angle. This whole process made such a huge difference in not only how I took gunfights, but also how I played the game. It reminded me that you don't clutch up rounds by overexposing yourself. You clutch up rounds by peeking angles precisely and finding isolated gunfights. At the same time that I was practicing this, I started reminding myself that when I was in 1v4 situations, that is really the time for me to practice isolating gunfights. Play it slow, look for picks because the enemies will give them to you. Take a look at this round that I played on Astra. You'll notice I start out the round by holding this B-long smoke. By slowing down my gameplay, I started to realize how valuable patience can actually be in a game like Valorant. This is currently our second round buy after winning the pistol round, and considering I'm taking long control with our Sage, we don't really have any drones to clear out the smoke. I don't know about you, but I don't want to walk into a smoke where they very likely could have shorties. Especially after we get information that they also forced up, there's no way that I'm walking into this smoke right now. Sure enough, the smoke fades and I get a free kill onto the enemy jet trying to make an aggressive play. Unfortunately, my teammates get collapsed on through the teleporter and hookah and we end up losing the spike. But after wrapping around, you'll notice that I once again make a decision that I probably wouldn't have in the past. I choose not to push the Omen smoke. In the past, I probably would have chalked this round up as a loss and just swung out to take a gunfight, but no, I waited. I had plenty of time on the clock, and maybe if I just waited, they'd make a mistake. Sure enough, I find a trade onto the enemy raise, and now I'm in a 1v3. This is where you'll notice I wait for the smoke to fade, and even after that, I wait for the dart to fade as well. Mind you, all of this stuff is incredibly annoying to deal with. It took me a lot of discipline to stop myself from just shooting the recon dart and swinging the angle. No, I waited the dart out, and then you'll notice I start to clear my angles. I clear the first angle, I clear the second angle, and then suddenly Omen starts walking at me because he thinks thinks I dodged the recon and went long. After I killed the Omen, you'll notice that I go right back to clearing my angles. I clear hookah entrance, and then I swing to clear the wide angle. And the funny thing is, if you think about it, in this situation, I wasn't even patient enough. I overheated at the end. If you compare me waiting for 18 seconds for utility to fade to the 6 seconds after when I died, I might have been able to slow down my peaks even more. Obviously, I didn't win this round, but my point here is because I slowed down my gameplay, I turned an unwinnable round into an actually winnable one. Past me would have just booked it straight through the smoke and took a fight, but that's not how you win rounds. And this brings me to change number 2 that I made, which is I needed to change how I approached the game emotionally. I think something that I really needed to remind myself about is that the game really isn't about your teammates. It's about you. I would get so frustrated with these players on my team for doing all sorts of stuff. Pretty much everything that they could possibly do would frustrate me in one way or another. I needed to stop caring. These players are trying so hard to make the game about themselves. They're constantly complaining and trying desperately to be the main character of the game. I started to realize I was giving these players exactly what they wanted. I would start arguments with them, I'd tilt, and beyond that, I just wasn't having fun. So I started muting people a lot. This is going to sound pretty controversial for some, but I muted people for a variety of reasons. I muted them if they were being mean, of course, but I muted them if they were making incorrect callouts. I muted them if they were talking about things irrelevant from the game. Hell, I muted a guy because in round 2 of the game, he played a soundboard of the bind teleporters. With that being said, it's important to mention that communication is a very vital part of the game. If you want to play any team game at the top level, obviously communication is going to be a massive part of that. But your teammates' comms are not something you can improve. Yours, on the other hand, are something that you can work on regardless of what your teammates do. I know that it is very easy to complain about the no comm Reyna that we all get in our team every single game. But if you take a step back for a moment, you'll start to realize how some players seem like they're constantly competing to be the center of attention. Wow, my teammates are so bad. I can't believe that I'm stuck in this elo. When I muted players, I started to realize that I can finally think. I don't need to rush myself to make plays anymore. I don't need to make the wrong decision just because my teammate was screaming for me to do it in my ear. For once, I could finally think. The funny thing is, in some games where I would mute my teammates, the games would end up getting close, and sometimes I'd convince myself we need every advantage that we can get right now. Just unmute them until the game is over. Here's an example of how that turned out one game. That's a bad smoke. Don't push off that. One flash that mid.
Oh my god, I'm getting baited by my Omen.
No, you're not getting baited. Your Omen told you not to do that, and you did it. We ended up actually winning that round, but some of you might be watching this clip thinking, wait, didn't you actually bait him a little bit there? I actually spent a lot of time thinking about this myself, so let me break down a little bit of what was going on in the round and explain why I made the decision that I did. You'll notice at the start of the clip, the information that I currently have is that Sage had walled somewhere on B's site. I actually wasn't positive at the time where she walled, which is also part of the reason why I didn't want to push, because for all I know, she could be using some crazy grim wall that would just result in us dying to an off angle when we entered site. But we do end up finding out later after Cypher entries onto site that she had just walled Speedway. Another piece of information that we gathered near the start of the clip is that Skye is playing Market due to her flash that she used in mid. So if Skye is playing in Market and Sage was on B, the moment that Cypher picks off Chamber, we still know that there are 2 players towards B. Not only that, but if we have any knowledge of rotations and matchmaking, because a player just got picked off on B, it's very likely that a rotate is coming over towards B or mid in the next 10 seconds. So by the time that RKO can actually rotate over towards B with Spike, there should be 3 players here, and along with that, we can't even go towards site because there is a Sage wall blocking us off from Speedway. What probably would have happened if we went towards B is Cypher and I would have tried to push, we get funneled towards Switch, and get pop flashed out of Market by Skye and killed, likely before KO even ever arrives with the Spike. I do find it comical that I literally told him not to push in and he did it anyway. But I just want to highlight that if he were the one calling the shots, he probably would have gotten us both killed. But instead, I made the decision that I felt was correct in the moment, and after the round, I reflected on if I made the right call or not. Like I said earlier, don't let them make the game about them, it's about you. Finally though, the third change that I made is I started playing Deathmatch a lot. I'm going to expose myself here a bit, but hopefully it exposes some of you as well. How many of you actually do your aim training daily? Don't lie to me. Honestly, how many of you genuinely do your full aim training routine every day before you play? I definitely didn't. I don't even have a routine. I just tried to play deathmatch before each session. And sure, before each session, I would play 1 or 2 games, but like, is that enough? Of course, that's not enough. We all know that doing our aim training will help us improve, but I'm willing to bet that most of you probably aren't actually putting in the work that you need to be. I've spoken to so many top tier players over the last 2 years, and one of the most consistent things that I've heard from these guys is that when they were trying to get better at Valorant or CSGO or whatever game they played, they would try to play deathmatch for 1, sometimes 2 hours a day. This is a ridiculous amount of deathmatch to be playing, but these hours spent practicing their aim reflects in their gameplay. I've been playing a lot of DM lately, and I've been utilizing the deathmatch method that I mentioned earlier, and it's been showing massive growth in my gameplay. I'm more confident, my aim is way more crisp, and honestly, it's kind of a relaxing way to spend my time. Maybe some of you are doing this already. Maybe some of you are consistently aim training and sticking to your routine, but if you're not, I just gotta ask you, what makes you think that you're different from anyone else? Why should every other player have to put hours into improving, but you feel you could just queue into a game and be better than them? There's no shortcuts for success in any field. It just takes hard work and dedication. And if you're really looking to hit a rank like Immortal, which remember is the top 2% of players, you gotta grind a little bit. And remember, if you want to be able to click pixels like the best, boy do I have the thing for you. Over at SkillCapped.com, we have a bunch of Radiant produced courses designed to bring your game to the next level. Bundled with some of the best agent courses in the game, we also have tons of full VOD reviews where we go over viewers' replays and tell them everything that they did wrong. All of the content on the site is also backed by our rank improvement guarantee, so it's literally no risk. This is an excellent way for players to improve at the game, so I highly recommend that you guys check it out if you're looking for the fast track to improvement. As always though, I hope this was helpful for some of you today. Let me know in the comments below if you relate to any of the things I said in this video. I would love to talk with you all about it. As always though, my name is The King Live, and we here at SkillCapped want to thank you all for watching. We'll catch you in the next one.